Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Substack Live at the Sustainable Media Center. My name is Emma Lemke, and I serve as the Director of Gen Z Advocacy for SMC. And I'm so honored to be joined again in conversation with one of the founders and leaders of the Social Media Victims Remembrance Day and founder of the Alexander Neville Foundation, Amy Neville. A little bit more about today's conversationalist. Amy has become a leading advocate in the fight to hold big tech accountable after the loss of her son due to harm connected from social media. She has turned grief into action and co-founded, as I mentioned, the Social Media Remembrance Day on June 23rd as a way to honor the lives of those lost to social media and demand action from lawmakers and companies to address these online harms. In addition, Amy founded the Alexander Neville Foundation to deliver talks and presentations for all ages on social media issues, the current state of the drug crisis, and how it is impacting our youth. So we're very thankful to have you on today, Amy.
Thanks for having me back.
So for today's conversation, I want to kind of turn our focus to a trial that was ongoing as of yesterday, but against Meta in Oakland. Here at SMC, we've been covering the trial in our newsletter Signals. But for those of you who are unaware, this morning, Meta agreed to pay about $17 billion as part of a settlement to resolve claims brought by states across the country that the company designed Facebook and Instagram to addict children, mislead consumers about their safety, and improperly collected personal data on children who use the platform. Um, so there's a lot to unpack there, and that was as was stated by Reuters. And in addition, Meta has also agreed to make changes for teen users of Facebook and Instagram nationwide. So there have been some agreements on design changes. But Amy, you've spent years fighting for accountability from social media companies. I know that for a lot of people, I even got many texts this morning. This seems like a victory, but when you heard the news of the settlement this morning, what was your first immediate reaction?
So my immediate reaction was like a pit in my stomach because my mind immediately goes to a couple of things. First is, well, what's the evidence of that we don't get to see, right?
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that the general public is pretty sympathetic to our cause, but it's the evidence that's going to make them empathetic, and empathy is where the change is going to happen. And then I think about those changes that they say that they're going to make, right? Historically, they've made promises to make changes in the past. They make changes that really amount to not anything. And so it's hard to believe that those are going to be impactful. So that will remain to be seen. Everything remains to be seen at this point.
Mhm. And I know that, and we also covered this in our Signals newsletter. Parents were out in front of the court, speaking
Mhm.
about, the loss of their children, also the impact this has had in real lives. So, what role do you think parents, specifically survivor parents, have played in the ongoing victory, specifically in court, from New Mexico to LA and now to the settlement in Oakland?
Mhm. I think parents, if it's not in these cases that are not directly related to a family, uh, we are there to bring awareness to the issues that are happening within the home and bring real lived experience to the conversation. And I wake up every day with this feeling of okay, I have life-saving information. Who am I going to tell today?
I, I want to just jump in here and just be for a moment optimistic. Um, Both of you guys have spent a really long time. I mean, I just want to say out loud, for Meta to sit around that conference room and say to Mark, who they obviously had on a speakerphone or a Zoom call, we're, we're going to cave. Not only are we going to write a big check, but we're going to admit in public, whatever the language notwithstanding, this is a domino, and I think it's a really big one. And I think I mean, we haven't yet talked to some of our friends. I want to talk to Laura Marquez Garrett and find out what she thinks. But I just think it's extraordinarily humiliating for Meta to
Oh,
have to cave.
absolutely. I mean, we're winning in court, right? And that is a really big deal. I will definitely agree with you on that. It shows that there is a systemic issue with these companies, and they have to monetarily admit to that. And but when I think about it, I'm thinking about the bigger picture. How do we get the whole world to delete Instagram? So
So
despite the
so
time.
so all the other companies, like there was some rumblings that there was going to be a settlement yesterday, and that Snap and YouTube and all the other potential litigants in these various cases are going, oh shit, we might have a real problem here.
Mm.
And there are thousands of other cases that are moving through the courts, and everybody, and the question is, they didn't do anything to stop the change momentum that we're now feeling. And um, I just think I just want to take a minute, Amy, to thank you for everything you and the parents have done, because you're being out there, you're standing in front of, I mean, there's nothing fun about that. There's no,
No.
like, this is not a hobby. This is a hard every day. And um, on behalf of all of our members and in the community, we just really appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's definitely a labor of love for all of us.
Um, One of the things that I thought was interesting, first of all, Arturo's testimony was spectacular.
He's always
Um,
spectacular.
right? Even tempered, calm, focused. I didn't realize until I read some of the coverage yesterday. He said he'd been in meetings with Mark 100 times.
Yeah.
100 times. So he's, and Francis Haugen, I mean, who literally got the ball rolling on this. One of the things about Arturo's testimony was he literally just said in a way that all parents understand, I have a daughter, I went through this, I raised it with management, I raised it again, and it was clear that they were going to do nothing. And both Francis and Arturo, I just adore.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought, though, that Massari's testimony was surprisingly weak.
It was weak in LA too. He's kind of been known in the past for being a little more charming than Mark, but that hasn't come across in these lawsuits.
He essentially said, we've done the best we can. And maybe the thing that made them settle was that they were going to call Mark.
Yeah.
And Mark just said, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not going to end up back in a courtroom.
Yeah, and he's not good at it. That's for sure.
No. Standing out there among parents who you've gotten to be, friends with and colleagues with, what was the feeling even before the settlement?
I didn't actually go to the Oakland one, but I watched it really closely and, of course, was talking with parents that were there. And it was different this time. We went there, parents went there to have a press conference to bring attention to the trial and then basically went home. So we haven't been in the courtroom this time like we were with KGM, but KGM was so much more personal because her story echoed so many other stories of families that we know. And so to be there to support KGM was very different than what this trial has going on. But I know that the parents that were there were happy to be there, to support and to bring the attention to this. And it worked. I mean, it got coverage and it brought people who might not be paying attention to the table to watch it.
I think it's worth saying out loud that the AGs, the 29, I mean, it was deeply bipartisan.
Oh, yeah.
Blue states, red states. This, there was no, I mean, I think for Meta to realize what they were up against, I mean, state AGs are really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put them together in this group, I mean, Emma and I have talked about this. Emma has more lawyers in her family than I've ever met. And, lawyers don't generally agree on things. Like, to get those documents to be a consensus of agreement among, there's different numbers out there, 29, 32. Tracking this case has been very challenging because
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I thought we were going to win, but I didn't think it was going to. And to your point about the evidence not coming out, I think there is I agree with you that we should be concerned about that, and we want more evidence for sure. But I think there's another case coming right behind this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is far from over when it comes to the lawsuits. So, we'll keep going and as parents, we'll keep showing up in these spaces to support whoever it is and to get the message out there until the whole world changes.
So I think the question will be, they're claiming they're going to put some things in place that are product changes. Again, it's super early days, so we don't know what they are yet. I mean, we do a little bit.
Yeah.
But Emma, how does this ripple back to the Design It For Us product concerns? Like, does it align with their? I know there's something about infinite scroll was going to somehow be limited.
I think this is beyond just Design It For Us. I think that you have to look at, youth advocates and what they've been demanding for a while. I think basic, tenets of, a lot of these concerns were based in design. So, looking at the infinite scroll, looking at things like, I know that, and I was reading this morning in the settlement, they talked about, daily usage limits, nighttime blocks, just basic design features that might aid a young person in being able to develop a healthier relationship with their technology. So yes, I think this, at least if there are actual measurable, meaningful design changes that are made, I'm never gonna say like be upset about that. Like that's a good step in the right direction. But again, it's hard for me to envision a world in which this settlement is going to lead to like the eradication of the infinite scroll. Like those larger pieces I think are much harder to attack. But you know what, if there is a daily usage limit, a nighttime block, things like that that are not easily, circumvented, I think that that's a step in the right direction.
And
It's a
it'll all be put to the test once it comes out. So we'll know if it works or not.
Mhm.
I mean, there still isn't really. I mean, what would be the response if they don't actually live up to their promise? I mean, you've got all the state AGs having to kind of go another round in the courts.
If it doesn't happen, the response would be, "Oh, of course it didn't happen."
Of course, it
It would
didn't.
come
Yeah.
as no surprise. But since this is happening in court, this is part of the settlement. I have to believe this probably for the first time. I'm maybe believing a little bit that something meaningful will change. But again, I'm a skeptic at this point.
Mhm.
Well, we've believed that there was a series of dominoes, and the next one on the horizon that I think is potentially important is the Aaron Sorkin film coming up on October 9th, um, which puts a famous actors, and a slew of famous faces on the big screen telling the Facebook story in a way that, from the clips I've seen,
Mhm.
may just be phenomenally powerful. Um,
Yeah, that would be interesting. We'll have to do some activity around that too to make sure we get more people to watch it.
it's a month away. It's soon.
Yeah, that is, oh my gosh, it's already the end of August. Okay.
I've bet a couple of friends. I guess I lost this bet given that it's the 26th, but I had a bet going for about 7 months, that in the middle of August, Mark Zuckerberg would step down.
Interesting.
That he will not want to be in the public face of the movie, and will, having gone through that once with a movie that didn't make him look good, and this one I'm told makes him look worse, uh, that he would say, it's time to hand the keys over to somebody else. He'll keep his equity, he'll own the thing,
Oh, of course, of course.
but he'll just scamper off to Hawaii and
You
his.
think he's capable? I mean, after reading Careless People, I just don't feel like him and people like him are capable of making rational decisions. And that might be a rational decision.
I'm shocked that they settled. I
Yeah,
mean,
I am too.
the person who pushed the button was him, right? I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not a decision, right? So, and I thought, going back to the tobacco parallels, that they would just slow roll everything, drag their feet, run it through the courts, get everyone tired. I mean, part of it is, I mean, they were counting on you getting tired.
Yeah. Oh, we're not.
And,
We're in it for the long haul. We'll
yeah,
die on this hill if that's what it takes.
yeah, no. Uh, I don't think they knew exactly until And one of the things the folks at the Heat Initiative shared with us is that in Oakland, not in Oakland, in Los Angeles, they just seemed ill prepared.
Mhm.
Like they didn't have a press strategy. Um,
Yeah.
so what should we watch out for in the sand traps of the settlement? What are you like? Like I get you not being that I'm giving myself permission to be gleeful for a moment and then get back to work. And I don't mind, I don't mind that you're still wary. That's, we can agree to support each other in that way. And Emma too. I mean, like we've been talking about this all morning, and my texts have been blowing up. And some people are like, "Is this the win we think it is?" And the answer is we don't know yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just it. Like, is what's going to happen in a couple weeks when we're a couple weeks removed from this now? Are they going to actually fight the settlement? Because we've seen that in other cases, like within the AI, right? Are they going to maybe change their mind? They tried to fight the $6 million in KGM. So, what might happen in that space? And then what's the timeline for these changes? Because I firmly believe they could do them right this minute. They know how to do it.
Yeah.
But are they going to be given a long ramp to figure that out, which really doesn't fix anything, and then gives us time to forget that they're supposed to do these things. So um, that's the stuff we just have to keep watching and watching and watching and not taking our eye off of them.
So we talked about this, Emma and I, last week. The judge is a no fooling, serious tech judge,
Yeah, sure seems like it.
right? And has been in, this is not her first rodeo on complicated tech matters. And also interesting, the structure of it was that there's a jury that's an advisory jury,
Oh,
but that
interesting.
it, so they were going to hear the case and then speak to the judge. But at the end of the day, the judge was going to be the single decision maker. And so I think that Facebook had to realize, if they looked back at the Epic Games Apple suit that the judge handled, that they were likely to get handed a much harsher sentence than a settlement.
Interesting.
And
Probably
I
the
don't
case.
think she's going to tolerate them agreeing to settle and then not living up to it. I mean, she'll
Good.
be the enforcer.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
so
But
I
I'm
want a
sure they're
t-shirt. I want a t-shirt.
going to try. Right.
Um,
I'm sure they're gonna try. I mean, they have a history of trying to skirt around any responsibility of anything. So, um, I mean, so I hope it's as plain as it is in the article, and that these things are gonna happen quickly, but we'll just keep, we're gonna keep going like we've been going.
what do you, Emma? What do you think? I mean, you've been following this for a really long time. Like, does this give the movement the burst of adrenaline it needs to? I mean, I know that we talked about this back in January, that this was going to be a long slog.
I think time will tell. I agree with Amy, and as it relates to the importance of the speed at which they roll out changes. So I think I agree. I think that these are easy changes that could be made tomorrow. So the question I think for a lot of advocates in this space is, one, how quickly do changes roll out? Two, how substantive are they? How easily can you get around them? Will they make any meaningful changes? And then I think from there, it's going to be on advocates and on parents and on anyone who's really concerned to continue to apply pressure. Because I do agree, I think the movie is a great example of this. Obviously, and I think you started out the conversation talking about like building empathy, societal empathy. I think a lot of people care, but they need buy-in. And I don't think the buy-in should be having, someone that you love or yourself being harmed by social media. But I think that larger movies and things like that might have more success than a case at mobilizing people to care a little bit more. So I'm hopeful that it's a continuation of dominoes falling. But again, I think that as it relates to the specific impact that this one settlement will have, I think time will tell.
I think what's changed, and Amy, tell me, it used to be that families that were struggling with issues with their teenager were mostly doing that alone
Oh, yeah.
in their live, and it wasn't the kind of thing you went to the school cocktail party and said, hey, I'm having a problem with social media and my teenager, and another parent said, yeah, me too, what should we do together? And that kind of community conversation started happening, what, 2 years ago? Like,
Yeah,
just
I would say in the 6 years I've been on the road, going to schools, talking to young people, talking to families and communities. It, now when I show up, they have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. A couple years ago, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is going on. So yes, education is catching up. People's knowledge is catching up to the times, and so that's a good thing. But there's still that block of it could never happen at my house, or my kid is smarter than that. So that's the hurdle to overcome. And the one thing every parent can see their kid being is the hero in somebody else's story. And so when I talk to communities, that's how I frame it. Here's why you need to know, because your kid could be the one to help somebody else. And that gets people to listen.
I think I remember, was it 3 years ago? You know, people saying they would hear stories like yours and they would say, I'm dealing with my teenager on some issues, but they would always start, when I would talk to them, they would start by saying, well, I'm very fortunate because my kid has a handle on social media.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was a way of kind of slightly blaming other parents for
Oh, absolutely.
whatever, and I would always push back. I remember when my older son uh, said to me, started talking to me about social media, and he would show me things. And it wasn't that we weren't communicating, it was that he was showing me things that I thought were dangerous and weird. And I remember at one point he showed me something, and I kind of tried to gently poo poo it. And he said, Dad, you just don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as a father, what do you say back to that? Guilty as charged. Like, no, I don't think it's funny. Um, this was 4chan. This was like
Oh,
really
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
ugly stuff. But like, you don't want to be the dad that doesn't have a sense of humor.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe it's just comedy. It's not comedy.
Yeah, well,
Um,
and it's just this sense of what parents forget is, we're giving our kids these devices, these things at a time, many of us did, or people still do, at a time where their brain is under major development and their brain is going to develop along with this. And so we're not thinking about the long term of that, right? Because we've given them lots of things over the course of our lives. And the other struggles, we didn't grow up with it. And so we just don't know. We're trying to lead these kids through their teenage years based on our lived experience, not Emma's probably lived experience, but ours, Steve. And we just don't know what's happening, and we're doing the best that we can. And these companies tell us one thing when they do something else. And unfortunately, we are a society that is built on capitalism, and so we tend to believe these big multinational corporations over sometimes our own instinct.
Part of what I think loops into this, and Em and I talk about this a lot, is like, you know, where does AI fit into this whole conversation? And, my email is now flooded with not very good robots pretending that they know me and trying to sell me something. But that's going to, when you read stories like the character AI case,
Hmm.
and you realize, if Facebook is dangerous, you know, ChatGPT is exponentially more dangerous.
Hmm.
And I mean, as human beings, we all want empathy, and we all want, having a friendly robot to say, Amy, you're really right about that. You should really think about, it's like, I mean, if you look at the conversations, particularly, there was a lot of testimony in the chat in the character AI case, like the robot was charming and delightful and dangerous.
Hmm.
And I'm hopeful that these cases will ripple into AI, and that those companies will understand that product liability, which is the genius evolution of this, uh, will warn off the AI companies that this is coming for them if they don't pay attention.
Well, we finally unplugged our Alexa because anytime we'd use it, it'd be like, "Oh, what's your name? Tell me more about you so I can modify." Like, I can't even handle this. I changed the voice, to be friendlier. And I was like, I can't. This is making me so angry anytime I use it. Like, we have to get rid
My,
of this.
my, my wife and I have this conversation because my argument is if we unplug our Alexa, like the number of light bulbs I'll have to replace, like just the massive re-engineering of our house. Like I don't even know how to do it. I
They
don't even know
got
how
you,
to do it.
Steve. They got you.
Yeah, but we haven't upgraded. We made them unravel the upgrade because we hated the upgrade, to your point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So did you
Um,
get it all the way back? I can't get it to go back. I tried to get it to go back to its original mode and I couldn't get it to go there. So I was like, I'm
I've
done.
got it turning on light switches and radio, and that's it. So,
Okay.
um, but I looked for alternative. I was like, maybe I'll use the Apple one or the Google one. No, technology is deeply ingrained in our life, and one of the things that I've been really proud of watching among the Gen Z community is people really drawing lines. I think about, our friend Halio at Hot Literati, who does these great in-person reading events with
Hmm.
young people. And they read books and they spend time together and they go to the park and they like they're trying to put technology as a lane in their life, but not their only life.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's, going back to Emma's multiple efforts over the years. I mean, that's Log Off's entire, MO is like kids don't need to live their life online. And I love
Well,
that.
you've seen the Instagram commercials, right? Where they're playing a board game and then they just happen to do something on their phone and then they put it down and everybody's back together in the board game. It's like that's not the reality of what's happening. It's so frustrating, those commercials.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
it's bullshit.
it's such a lie.
Um, uh, all right. So what's going to happen next, Emma? What do you think is coming down the road? I know there's a bunch of other cases, but we have to now figure out what the next one is to track, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I think that we just have to scan the landscape, see what's coming down the pipeline. So I think that's going to be a new job for SMC is to continue to isolate which trials are, the ones that people should pay most attention to or that have the largest, either economic or just design consequences from and also discovery consequences, I guess. Um, I am surrounded by lawyers. I am no lawyer. So I cannot talk to what will happen post settlement. Um, I like unlike a trial that's been tried and there's a verdict that can get appealed, I'm curious on what that would look like to fight a settlement because I feel like there's just different stipulate. I think that if you settle,
You can't. They're settled. They signed it.
yeah. So I think that
Okay.
that's a
Good.
good thing to an extent. Again, versus an appeals process. So I think that the thing to watch as advocates and as just community members will probably be what meaningful design changes are made as a result of this settlement.
Yeah, and we're playing whack-a-mole because the next thing that's going to pop up is back to legislation. So I think that's where we're going to be headed next as the parent group as we kind of bounce back and forth between both things.
And Section 230 is far from settled.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, although interestingly enough, they didn't end up using it as a defense. So
yeah,
maybe that ship has sailed, which would be nice. Um,
but yeah. They definitely need to
well,
find new strategies. That's for sure.
well, we have a whole community of people we have to talk to today that kind of circle the wagons and figure out what's next. But we're far from done.
Yeah,
Um, the other thing, just in my optimistic mood this morning, I worried after Oakland that the mainstream media would find this story too duplicative and would say, we covered it in Oakland and people don't. And in fact, the coverage on this case has been far greater. It's been,
hmm,
I don't know how many reporters are in the courtroom, but it seems like there are more people actually were covering this case than were covering Oakland. And I think that's good news.
yeah.
So, we'll see I mean, it'll be interesting to see how big the drumbeat is on this. I mean, will it lead the news tonight on all the networks? Probably. It's on the front page of the New York Times this morning. It's on the Wall Street. I mean, it's all, and the word tobacco keeps coming up.
Yeah.
That's the drumbeat, it's the tobacco moment. So
And Stephen, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your optimism this morning. I believe in it 100%, but I'm going to remain skeptical, and we can call that balance.
no. Look, honestly, I'll be skeptical tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Check in with me tomorrow, and I'll have read everything and talked to a whole bunch of people, and I'll be told what the sand traps are, and we're not optimistic, naively optimistic. We're
Sure,
just like,
I know.
the number of people in my life who've been working their ass off on this for the last 5 years and who deserve, a little bit of a victory lap. And
maybe a day off, maybe just half a day off.
exactly right. By the way, before we end, you're sitting in front of your screen is that picture from Washington. So we should just
Oh
talk about
yeah.
that. Yeah, and we were all there.
Oh, that's my chair. Yeah. So the Social Media Victims Remembrance Day back on June 23rd. Uh, I felt like it was an incredible day. We had amazing legislative speakers come, amazing young people come, and then of course our husbands spoke, which I'm biased. I thought they did great. But for me, the most meaningful part is when we came back for the candlelight vigil, and everyone got to pay tribute to their kiddo by placing a candle, and those that didn't have family there, they were covered by somebody else. And what that means to the families, I hadn't really considered that until I actually work with the Parents Network as well, which is a support group for impacted families and bereaved families, and we had a debrief so people could come together and talk about the experience. And so many people said time and time again how this what it meant for them to be able to be there to represent their kid. And I'm getting sorry, and how that this is something that they're going to do every year because it gives them this connection to their kid in a bigger way than they had ever really considered. And so I didn't anticipate that, and this was our second year doing it in this space. And so now I feel like, okay, we have to do this again. We have to, we're working on what next year will look like, but there will always be that holding space for families. And I feel
Well,
bad putting everybody back in storage. I've got all, everything comes back to my house. It's all in storage now, waiting for next year.
well, we will be there next year with
I
you,
appreciate you.
and just very much appreciate having a chance to talk this morning.
Yeah, thank you guys. Enjoy your day. I hope it doesn't get too crazy with texts and phone calls. I know that my phone's been blown up, so I'm sure yours is too.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we will, I know, be in conversation with you again soon in the future.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emma. Good to see you again.